Hey there, I'm Nick, and this is Thought Factory. I work in a factory, and my job can be boring at times. That gives me time to think of interesting things and come to conclusions from my unique perspective. I'll be discussing whatever's on my mind, no script. I'll be beating Bloons Tower Defense 5 levels in the process. Come for the balloons, stay for the commentary. Hopefully, anyway, until I learn to edit. So today we're working on Daffodil on Impoppable, and I have a previous Impoppable video. This one's the one you want to watch. I'm going to be coming out with strategy guides in the near future. Mainly just an Impoppable strategy guide. I have somewhat of a strategy that I've been working on, and I think that I could now probably explain it to people and actually describe it pretty well. And my editing skills have gotten to the point where I could probably put something together that is coherent, but still going to be a work in progress, I'll tell you that. So I'm curious, I want to see if I want to see that when I improve the quality of the videos, how many more viewers I get and how much better, my retention is. And I'm kind of just interested in the stats. I've made probably about 85, 86 videos, maybe a little bit more now. A lot of them have just been me playing, actually mainly the same level, but I've been playing mainly just Monkey Lane on actually Impoppable for most of them, but hard on a lot of them too because I hadn't even beaten hard yet. So now I'm all the way up to Daffodil, and I've just been working through the game like that. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and subscribe. I usually just talk about stuff that I'm interested in, and I very rarely actually kind of discuss the game. But I am going to be having some. I gotta work on editing. I got to work on editing and actual video creation because I'm starting to get to the point where I got some good ideas that I'm cooking on that I think could be presented and people would actually like them. That's been the big thing for me, that I think that if I can get the ideas right and get the logic down, then I think people would really like my stuff and my stuff would take off really fast. And so like what I should say is that uh, it might seem like in the moment that this video is just sort of some guy just talking, right? But I just did this with my last video, but I listened back to it probably about 4 or 5 times, and I was like, "Fuck, there's something there." I tied together Charles Darwin, Michael Jordan, and John Deere, and it's like, how the fuck does somebody tie somebody like all those things together? I don't really know how I did it, but I have somewhat of a coherent narrative or story between all three of them, and I think it's captivating. At least it's captivating to me. So I think if it's captivating to me, then I'm sure other people will actually also be captivated by it. So yeah, I got some talking points today that I had written out, and me and my dad were having a really big boisterous conversation right before I turned on this video, and it filled my head with a bunch of really good ideas. So I just wanted to get this thing on and get it rolling and just talk about it. But so I'm not gonna talk too much about the balloons strategy. There's gonna be a strategy guide for that. So if you're here actually for the balloons content, not the commentary, you might be a little bit disappointed, but I might reference it a little bit here and there. So stick around if you want for that, but mainly the commentary is where a lot of the value I think is gonna be. And to be honest, I think a lot of it for anybody who's actually really sitting down and paying attention to this stuff, which this video I'm cooking, not all my videos am I cooking, but this video I'm moving pretty fast. But it's the thought process that goes into a lot of this stuff is going to be the most valuable thing for a lot of the people, is like try to think about how to think about these ideas and how to like be conscious in your everyday life and try and, I don't know what to say other than like almost like wake up. You got to be aware of what's going on around you and being critical of the world around you, because not everything is as it seems. One of the big things that me and my dad had just discussed is how there's a case that's going on. I'm from North America and I'm from Canada, and one of the cases that he had told me about is that there was a guy who he was robbing a convenience store, and The convenience store. He was robbing a convenience store with a weapon, like a gun. Not with a with a gun. I'm not too familiar with the story. This is just what my dad was telling me. And what ended up happening was that the guy who was working in the store beat this guy up really bad with a baseball bat. And the guy who had the gun is going to get 4 years in jail. And the guy who had the baseball bat is going to get 16 years in jail. Those are the charges that are laid right now. And apparently they're doing a GoFundMe for this guy and everything. I don't follow the news, so I'm not too familiar with the case. But I just think that sets a terrible precedent for people in general in life. In Canada, we have these weird fucking laws. I don't know what to call them other than like the reverse of stand your ground law. Like it'd be like, come on in and hang out and, sleep on my couch if you want law. And if I kick you out, you can kill me and I'm the problem. Like, I don't know what to call them. They're absolutely ridiculous. Like in the sense of if somebody broke into your house and you used more force than what they had on them or with them, which, I mean, just like think about how the fuck that would work. Sorry, I should have finished the point before I started describing it or explaining it. But if somebody comes into your house and brings a knife or brings, let's say something that's less lethal, like a baseball bat or a billy bat, say a nightstick, right? Like a police officer nightstick. They brought a police officer nightstick into your house, and you also happen to have a police officer nightstick. They're in your house, on your property, and you beat them worse than they beat you, you're probably going to jail. That's a rough situation to be in as a person who's trying to defend their property. Like, you pretty much don't own your property if that's the case, right? The state kind of owns it because the state's saying, we'll defend it. We'll defend your property. You don't have to defend it. And it's like, that's a silly rule. Like, I got to come back and listen to this and actually try to make this more coherent because I think I could make something like this into a video in and of itself. But these rules and these laws are just absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous. And when you start looking at the way that colleges have gone and declining or accepting people, so this is another good example, right? So that was an example from an example from just the news. I gotta find the article for that. I'll have to ask my mom. I think my mom told my dad, so I'll have to try to find that somewhere because I think that's fucking crazy. And then about the 16 years and the 4 years, right, with the guy with the gun who tried to rob a store. It's like you rob somebody with a deadly weapon, and then the guy who beat you up so bad that would have been dead if you used the deadly weapon, you're gonna put him in jail for 16 years. It's like, dude, he probably could have killed you and it would have been justified. You're gonna put him in jail for 16 years? Like, he should have been justified. I think there was a cop. I was watching a video, and I think it was out of Florida, where the cop actually just says, they ask him, the media asks him, so, if somebody breaks into your house, is it okay for you to just shoot them and kill them? And he's like, yeah, please do it. And he goes, actually, if you come in, he goes, it'll save us the hassle. And he said, if you come down on Saturday, we'll show you how to shoot properly and get good aim so you get the guy good. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That must have been a Florida or Texas state, right? In America, obviously, we don't have Canada. Canada doesn't have Texas or Florida. We need something like that. I don't know what the laws are like in none of it and shit like that. But all I know is that we got some wild shit going on down here in Ontario. And it's dangerous. Dangerous to, the psyche, for one. But I think I started out this video, at least I was trying to get my fucking intro down. But I was struggling with it pretty hardcore. I couldn't get a good rhythm down with it. And it just, I don't know, it didn't seem to make sense to me. So anyway, but what I started this video with was like, you can't hit your kids anymore. And it's like, I actually didn't get hit too bad as a kid. My mom disciplined us more than my dad. But what I do think is really important is the fear. The fear of being hit. Like, if your kids don't fear your parents, like, maybe it might be different if there's like a respect element, right? Like, you want your kids to respect you. Maybe that is probably the best way. But with the lack of with lack of respect, if you don't have fear, then you don't have anything. Like, because they can just walk all over you and you can't do anything about it. Like, I'm a pretty angry person, so maybe just, the threat of that would scare someone in and of itself. I don't know. I don't want to play that game, right? Especially when you get a kid that's smart enough to go, oh, I don't have to do what you say. And it's like, no, you don't, but you should, right? And like, why should I? And then you explain it to them in perfect, coherent sense, and they're going to go, well, I'm going to go do this, whatever I want anyway. And it's like the threat of violence, right? I'm not saying that you need to actually hit your kids. This is a good example. My dad, when I was a kid, my brother, and my sister, we were responsible for cleaning up the table and doing the dishes. Now, I'm not saying that they had the best strategy for going about this, but my mom cooked, and when the person in our household, when it cooked, and it was almost always my mom, then you didn't have to clean, right? Which I think it's a fair assessment. Like, everyone else has to help. So, I mean, the person who never had to help was my dad, which was a bad, terrible precedent. But he made the money, and he was busy trying to get some rest because he worked a long ass hours as a transport truck driver. So, crazy hours, and I just, the rationalization for it, I can understand why they did what they did, and it kept us busy. We got to work as a team. So me, fuck, bad precedent to be yawning on camera. But anyway, me, my brother, and my sister, it's not that I'm actually yawning because of the material that I'm covering, maybe a little bit, but more so that it's 2:45 a.m. in the morning for me. I make these videos really late into the night, and last night I went to bed about 3 a.m. and woke up at 8 a.m. So 4 or 5 hours of sleep, running on that, trying to make this YouTube video, trying to make an Impoppable Daffodil video. That doesn't relate Charles Darwin, Michael Jordan, and John Deere together. Yeah, a little bit difficult, but anyway, without the threat of violence, kids they're going to be in trouble. And the example that I was going with is that, my parents, they worked hard. They both had full-time jobs, and my dad, he took it as his responsibility to work, and he was making the money to help put food on the table. Well, to put food on the table, it wasn't help, it was putting food on the table, right? And keeping the lights on and a roof above our head. And his way of trying to explain that to us was just like, you guys are gonna do your part and do dishes, and you're gonna clean up. So we were in the kitchen, probably not cleaning up, and we were probably younger, like less than, say, 12, right? My sister might have been 12. I was probably 11, and my brother would have been 9, right? So we were old enough to, I don't know. I don't actually know much about ages of kids at all, but we were old enough to maybe kind of understand what was going on, but definitely, be in that age of like, we were probably fucking around a little too much and being annoying and maybe not getting anything done. And my dad might have just been angry that day, but I don't know. But what I do remember was we weren't doing the dishes, and I think we were fucking around, and all of a sudden my dad went outside onto the front porch and grabbed my hockey stick and brings it into the kitchen and breaks it. Like we were at this point, we all ran to do the dishes, and we were standing there, and we were all like, yeah, we're doing it. And we were all freaking crying, right? Like little babies. He took the hockey stick and just like a little twig broke it over his leg. That fear, once you seen that, was like, I'll do the dishes. Because the alternative would have been something else. And that threat, it didn't matter. He didn't actually have to do it. In our case, he didn't actually have to do it and hit us and hurt us. But the threat of him potentially doing that was enough to have us stay in line. And I think that when you take that threat away, I think what ends up happening is that kids, they have this entitlement factor, because we were acting entitled, right? We weren't doing what we needed to be doing. Or maybe we were just being kids, I don't know. But that entitlement factor of a kid going, oh no, I don't have to do what you say. Imagine a 10-year-old. No, I don't have to do what you say. And if you hit me, I'm going to call the police. And when I call the police, that means they're going to take me away from you. And like that, like the kid having that wherewithal to say things like that and actually act like a little fucking shit is just like, and actually getting away with it, right? Like, there's no going back when somebody calls CPS, as far as I understand. Like, the kid can't call CPS, and then the CPS, Child Protective Services, for anyone who doesn't understand what CPS means, Child Protective Services, somebody can't call, like a child can't call Child Protective Services, tell them what's going on, and then they come into the house and go, you know what? Never mind. I've never heard CPS coming into a household and going, yeah, everything's all good here. Like, that doesn't happen anymore, right? Just like cops, when the cops get called pretty much anywhere, they want to come and just do like a wellness check, right? And I do understand the reason for that, and after seeing some YouTube clips about it, about mainly 911 operators getting these calls of like mainly women being in really like must be rough situations and not being able to tell the operator that they're calling the police for basically there being a perpetrator around them that has like a weapon and is causing them distress. I'm not exactly certain of a lot of these scenarios, and they might be people that are just like wrong, and unfounded in doing this. But I'd like to, err on the side of compassion a little bit on that one and say that it does appear like somebody might be in a dangerous situation with a person, and maybe they do need the police present but can't necessarily say it, right? So they talk in a really weird and creative way, and the cops end up showing up. So somebody who does end up accidentally calling 911 might, or somebody who, so like somebody in that situation might call 911 and then hang up, right? And the police want to come and just say like, hey, was it actually a mistake? Is there anything actually going on here? They might want to check things out and look around and see if anything's weird. I don't know if they're trained to actually notice that stuff or not. But anyway, the whole point is about this stuff is that like you can't really trust people like CPS, and you can't trust people like cops and lawyers. I mean, you could trust lawyers more than cops, but your lawyer, I wouldn't trust the opposing person's lawyer or the opposition's lawyer, which I actually did. I got a story for that too. I ran through a red light camera, which I think red light cameras are absolutely bullshit, because the police basically being used, and it's not even the police if it's a red light camera, right? The state basically using tickets as a way to garner money, make an income, is absolutely ridiculous. And I think we're in a sad state of affairs because of something like that, right? Like you can't just do that. And like where I'm gonna go with this is like, so we ended up so I ended up getting this ticket, this spread light camera ticket. It was $575. And what it said right on the form is basically like, if you show up, then we'll pretty much reduce the ticket to $375 if you show up to court, right? And then what they did was they had like two people that were crown attorneys that worked for the government come in there and basically say, okay, so this is the order that we're going to put everybody in, and then we're going to do the tickets like this. And they're coordinating it. Like these things, this wasn't this wasn't like one person comes in and we're going to do a whole full court proceeding. The court basically sees this as like a way to make money too, and goes, yeah, we're just going to send out the crown lawyers in order to organize this a little bit better so that these people know what's going on, so that they can just make this a little bit easier. And the court tells you, we will reduce this fine if you just say the words that we tell you and do what we want, what we want you to do. If you challenge us, then we're going to make this more painful and we're not going to take the money away. And we had all just happened, so I say all of us, there was probably about 30 of us, and we showed up in whatever order we showed up in, and they had like a whole sign-in list and everything so that you could basically be like, this could be done in the order that you showed up. And we weren't the first ones there. My mom was there. Me and my mom were there second, and the only reason my mom was there because it was her vehicle, so technically she had to be there because the ticket was assigned to her because it was her vehicle, but it wasn't her driving. So in order for I'm not gonna lie, like it was worth getting a speeding ticket just for this story, and just or a red light camera ticket just for this story, and actually seeing how this process worked. But it was like better than now that I look back on it, it was better than like a day at Disneyland or something like that. It was just because it's just an interesting experience, right? Like, or a day at Wonderland for us Canadians, but just a wild and interesting experience that you wouldn't expect anything like that to occur, right? So as far as I've always understood, right, in terms of my eyes of where I was at in my life, which I think I was probably about 21, 22, it's like court was not a place that you came in. It was like procedural. The people, I didn't understand. I wasn't concerned at the time or confused, but now with a little bit more perspective, it's kind of confusing. Why was the state telling us like what order we were going to go in? And they basically said anything that you said was like, yeah, you're not going to win. And they were like, and there's a good chance that if we actually have to go to court, you're going to pay more money. And it's like, what? You're going to pay more money? They wouldn't, and this is the thing, they wouldn't tell us what were the good excuses to get out of the ticket. So, because they weren't our lawyers, right? We needed to bring our own lawyers, which I didn't realize you could do to a parking ticket or to a red light camera ticket. So, but the whole idea, I reject the whole concept of the red light ticket completely. The fact that you can't even face these people, it's embarrassing. You know, the whole system is fucked. Like, what do we call them? I'm gonna call them the triad. You got the police, healthcare, and education. They've all turned into income generation for the state. I thought they were supposed to help people and keep society running, not be businesses. But I guess businesses is what they've become, generating money and getting taxes, like or to add to the tax money. I guess is what I meant to say. Like, we have on the street that I live, we actually have paid parking in front of the house. It's on the street, but it's paid parking. And it's not much, right? It's only like $30 for the year. It's only supposed to be for the parking, like, it's supposed to just be for the people that are, that live on the street. So that's why they have, the paid parking, is they want to make sure that you're parking in between these two, and then they'll send parking enforcement if that's not the case and people start getting ticketed and shit, right? But what ended up happening was that, so these stickers, they end up running out. And the stickers ran out, but they're still there attached on the car. So they're invalid, right? And what they did, as soon as the tickets rolled over, meaning January 1st, they started laying down tickets. And I just reject the whole concept. And I think it's so fucking stupid that you could have somebody who, what do I want to say here? You could have somebody who doesn't necessarily understand what they're doing, but doing it anyway, and giving somebody a ticket. Like, because my dad actually got 2 tickets in a row. I just got one, but because then I got smartened up for the next couple days because I couldn't go get the parking pass, so I had to smarten up. Smarten up for the next couple days and actually just park around the corner. But my whole point to all this is that, like, my dad asked me the question of, like, well, how did they know? How did they know that we didn't have our things, our passes? And I was like, it probably came up in their system and they came and checked. And they were like, oh yeah, they fucked up. You know how much the ticket was for one parking infringement one day? It was like $35. The whole parking pass itself is only $30. If that isn't evidence right there of the state just trying to collect money, like, they're trying to generate money for I guess it's not the state. Like, in this case, the state is the city. So I can't say it's just the state, right? Because it's not like it's Trudeau's government. But probably shouldn't be complaining about money. And I shouldn't be talking about politically charged subjects. But I'm absolutely blown away that the police, healthcare, and education have all... I got some other stories too, but I know that this game's going to end up running out here, so I don't want to go over too much. But I want to turn some of these topics. I like getting this out just in more of like a verbal thought. I guess I'm a thought factory, so just kind of spitting it all out. And then what I want to do eventually is, I'm just going to try to state my intentions here, is what I want to try to do eventually is turn these sort of talking points into a more coherent argument, and then edit, instead of having Bloons Tower Defense 5, edit those things into a coherent video to where somebody can just go, oh yeah, like, that makes sense, and that's a really good idea, yeah, that's where I'm going with these. So anybody, is listening to this still at this point, then subscribe, and you'll be, we're going to be doing 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So yeah, hopefully you guys hung in for this Impoppable Daffodil video. If not, that's okay. But, thanks for watching from the bottom of my heart, for real. Okay. Oh, and I just want to say, if you hung in this far, soul, I seen your comments. You're the soul. I'm the heart. You're the soul. So anyway, by the way, bye guys.